naturally. You follow what you feel inside. It's intuitive, you don't have to try. It comes naturally. It comes naturally. And it takes my breath away. You are the thunder and I am the lightning. And I love the way you know who you are. And to me it's exciting. When you know it's meant to be. Everything comes naturally. It comes naturally. When you're with me, baby. Everything comes naturally. It comes naturally. Baby, you have a way of moving me, a force of nature, your energy. It comes naturally. You know it does. It comes naturally. Yeah. And it takes my breath away. Every time what you do so naturally. You are the thunder and I am the lightning. And I love the way you know who you are. And to me it's exciting. When you know it's meant to be. Everything comes naturally. It comes naturally. When you're with me, baby. Everything comes naturally. It comes naturally. Baby, when we collide, sparks fly. When you look in my eyes, it takes my breath away. You are the thunder and I am the lightning. And I love the way you know who you are. And to me it's exciting. When you know it's meant to be. Everything comes naturally. It comes naturally. When you're with me, baby. Everything comes naturally. It comes naturally. Everything, baby, comes naturally.
Look for the Gummy Bear album with lots of music, videos, and extras.
Ich bin ein Gummibär, ich bin ein Gummibär, ich bin ein Gummibär. Ich bin ein Gummibär, ich bin ein Gummibär, ich bin ein kleiner, süßer, bunter, dicker Gummibär. Oh ja. Gummibär. Gummibär. Bang, 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 doody, body, bum, bang, bang, doody, body, bang, bang, doody, body, body, bum. Bang, 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 doody, body, bum, bang, bang, doody, body, bang, bang, doody, body, body, bum. Ich bin ein Gummibär, ich bin ein Gummibär, ich bin ein Gummibär. Ich bin ein Gummibär, ich bin ein Gummibär, ich bin ein kleiner, süßer, bunter, dicker Gummibär. Oh ja. Gummi, body bum.